I think it's really, quite frankly, disgusting. I think it is not anything that should come out of the White House of the United States of America.
Well, now, US President Donald Trump has said in a Truth Social post that only complete Iranian surrender will stop US bombardment of Tehran. We've been speaking to people in the Iranian diaspora. Here's Alika Ashuri, the daughter of a former political prisoner in Iran, Anousheh Ashuri.
I don't know about a hope going forward. And I have always been of the idea that war is not the answer. We tried as activists in the diaspora for years to prevent this exact situation from happening because we knew that there were diplomatic ways of weakening this regime and weakening their resources gradually, but diplomatically and legally. So now we are filled with horror as to what comes next. We are filled with horror for the further death and destruction of our citizens.
But Iranian British national Gio Esfandiari, board member of the think tank and activist group Lotus Advocacy, thinks differently about US-Israeli involvement.
Some might say in the West, we don't want intervention. But the truth is, Iran is already under the foreign intervention for the regime, not for the people. That's why many Iranians see the recent strike by Israel and President Trump as a rescue mission. I've already spoke with lots of people inside Iran. People are celebrating, dancing, chanting, and full of hope for liberty. They're thanking President Trump, they're thanking Israel, and they can't wait until they see this regime completely finish and end of this dictatorship.
Well, let's hear now from Ambassador Wendy Sherman, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under Joe Biden. Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening. Good to be with you.
Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Radio. Let's talk first about Donald Trump's posting on Truth Social, the idea that there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. Have you got to hand it to Donald Trump that he currently has the upper hand in this conflict?
Well, I think for Americans, this conflict needs to end soon. It means that gas prices are going up when Americans were already worried about affordability. Grocery prices will go up because of the inputs that require fertilizer, which goes through the Straits of Hormuz, as well as the energy sector. So for Americans, they really don't like this war. In terms of whether President Trump has the upper hand, our military is extraordinary. There's no question about it. And they will take on whatever mission is asked of them and do a superb job. But we are seeing this continuing nearly a week now, with the Iranians using particularly their drones to keep everybody off kilter, attacking countries around the Gulf, and now pulling in other countries from around the world. It is a very concerning and, in my view, escalating situation. I'm hoping the president will decide he's had enough, declare a victory, and go on with the hard work of dealing with the issues that Americans most have on their minds.
And you set out some of the economic issues that are the economic consequences of this military conflict. Of course, you will be most concerned about the human cost as well. It's been reported that America is likely to blame for the deadliest incident of the war, an airstrike that killed 165 at an Iranian girls' school. That's according to sources inside its own military. What is the impact of such a devastating tragedy?
I quite agree with you. I think at the end of the day, the real cost of all of this is about people. Those girls who will never have a future, the others who were killed in that particular attack, the Iranian people who absolutely, as I heard earlier on Times Radio, want to celebrate, want the end of this oppressive, insidious, just awful regime that slaughtered protesters in the streets. But at the same time, President Trump is really, I think, looking for a transactional result here, whether that's oil, whether that's the economy, whether that's having more control over Iran's future. This originally started because President Trump said, when the protesters were slaughtered, that America would have their back. At the end of the day, If we end up, as the president did in Venezuela, with really a very still oppressive government, but oil for the United States, that does not bode well for the Iranian people.
Well, and on that note about leadership and regime change, which is where Donald Trump started the justification for this war, but obviously, the objectives have changed very much in the last 6-7 days. President Trump told CNN on Friday today that Iran's leadership has been neutered. He's looking for a new leadership that will treat the United States and Israel well, even if that's a religious leader and it's not a democratic state. What do you make of Trump's sort of an aim there to get a new leader in that's acceptable to the US? Is that remotely doable in a country like Iran?
Well, I have long since stopped trying to figure out how President Donald Trump thinks and how he approaches things. He is someone who clearly enjoys power and projecting power. He has said this is an America First administration. In the past, the use of our fantastic military has always been a last resort, not a first resort, but it appears the president likes the military as a tool of foreign policy and national security and is happy to use it first. So quite concerning where we are. Look, we all hope for a good outcome here for the Iranian people. We hope that there are not more American casualties. There already have been 6 that we know of, good American soldiers. We hope for less chaos and for a future for all the citizens in the Gulf region who are also being affected tremendously by what is going on. So we all hope for the same outcome, and an Iran that cannot oppress its people, cannot use its aims around nuclear enrichment or missiles, which they also see as a deterrent, or their financing of proxies as a way to hold the Middle East hostage in some ways. We all want the same outcome. I'm just quite skeptical this is the way to get there.
And are you also concerned about the attention that this is soaking up from Donald Trump, a man who promised no more forever wars? Are you at all concerned that China could choose this moment to seize Taiwan while America is distracted, or does that seem unlikely given Xi Jinping's purge of the military and the people around him?
Look, I think there are all kinds of broader implications. We learned today through news reporting that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran at the same time that we have lifted a sanction so India can get Russian oil because of what's happening in the Gulf. India now needs energy. It's a little crazy while we're still trying to work with everyone to end Putin's horrific and illegal war in Ukraine. The president, Trump, is going to Beijing on March 31st. I can imagine that he wants that to be a triumphal visit. I would hope that this war is over by then, if not earlier. I think that Xi Jinping will indeed think if Donald Trump can run around the world making decisions for other people, he can do so for Taiwan.
I just want to look at some of the kind of bombast coming out of the White House since the war began. The White House social account received a lot of criticism for posting this pro-war message entitled "Justice the American Way." Let's just take a listen for a moment.
Wake up, Daddy son.
Welcome home, son.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor.
What will you do without freedom?
Mavericks inbound.
You can't conceive of what I'm capable of.
Finishing this fight.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
I am the danger.
Time to find out. Maximum effort.
Here it comes. Now end this.
Flawless victory.
I mean, it's even more extraordinary when you watch it. What do you make of it?
I think it's really, quite frankly, disgusting. I think it is not anything that should come out of the White House of the United States of America. Recent polling in this country shows a fall off in young men voting for MAGA, voting for the president. And I think this is an appeal to young men. There's a lot of chest beating going on by Secretary Hegseth, who didn't even begin any of his press conferences talking about the lives that have been lost by American soldiers who are trying to secure America's future. So this is a very, in my view, unseemly approach and not what we should be about at all.
Well, do you think
I'm
the
off
UK
being
is?
tough.
Do you think the UK is right to then keep its distance from America? Because, you know, Keir Starmer's got a lot of criticism for doing so.
I think this is entirely up to the Prime Minister. I don't begin to unpack politics in the UK, but I appreciate standing up for the rule of law, for international norms, for working with partners and not sort of deciding for everyone how the world ought to proceed.
Just finally, sort of standing back, really, when you look at what's going on and, you know, war really across the globe, strikes from the Gulf to Cyprus to Turkey, an Iranian ship sunk in the Sri Lankan waters by the US. It's sort of, you get asked all the time, is this World War III? Is this what it looks like? What do you think to that?
Well, I certainly hope it's not World War III. And I'm hopeful that President Trump, who tends to go from one event to another, he talked about changing the leadership in Cuba today, will decide that this should end sooner rather than later. And we will certainly not have this widen any further. I'm not sure that the White House planners understood how this would sort of seep out beyond into the Gulf and then beyond. But now they're going to have to deal with all of this that's happening. So I hope it's over soon, but I don't know.
Ambassador Wendy Sherman, thank you very much for joining us. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under Joe Biden there.